Every technology humans have ever built traces back to one moment. Not the wheel, not the internet, not the printing press. Fire. Fire is the technology that made every other technology possible. It kept us warm when the world was trying to freeze us. It protected us when the darkness was full of things that wanted to eat us. It cooked our food, hardened our tools, lit our caves, and gave us the first safe place to stop running and just exist. But here is the question nobody asks. How did we figure it out? Fire is dangerous. It destroys, it spreads, it burns. The first prehistoric human to ever encounter fire did not see a tool, they saw a threat. So how did we go from running away from it to building civilization with it? That is the story we are telling today. The first fire a prehistoric human ever saw was not made by human hands. It was made by the planet itself. Lightning strikes ignited grasslands across the African savanna with terrifying regularity. Volcanic eruptions sent rivers of fire down mountainsides. Spontaneous combustion in dry seasons turned entire forests into walls of flame. Fire was not rare in the prehistoric world. It was everywhere. And every animal on the planet had exactly one response to it: run. Every animal, that is, except one. Researchers studying modern wildfires in Africa have observed something extraordinary. While every other animal flees a wildfire, chimpanzees sometimes stop. They stand at the edge of the fire, watching it. Not running, not panicking, watching. Scientists call this pyromania in chimpanzees. Not the destructive kind, but a genuine fascination with fire that goes beyond fear. Our closest living relatives stop to watch fire burn, which means our common ancestor almost certainly did the same. Somewhere, roughly 1 million years ago, a hominin stood at the edge of a wildfire and instead of running, stayed to watch. Watching fire and understanding fire are two very different things. The shift from one to the other did not happen in a single moment of genius. It happened slowly, over thousands of years, through observation. Here is what prehistoric humans would have noticed first. After a wildfire passed through an area, the animals that had died in it were cooked, and cooked meat is easier to eat. It is softer. It requires less chewing. The calories are more accessible. A prehistoric human who ate cooked meat after a wildfire got more energy from that meal than from the same amount of raw meat. Their body registered the difference, and so, slowly, a connection formed. Fire and food, fire and warmth. Fire and the absence of the things that usually prowled the night. The fear did not disappear overnight, but it began to compete with something else: curiosity. And in the prehistoric world, curiosity was often the more powerful force. Researchers believe the transition from fearing fire to being drawn toward it took tens of thousands of years. It was not an invention, it was a relationship, a slow, dangerous, transformative relationship between a species and a force of nature. The first act of fire control was not starting a fire. It was keeping one alive. Somewhere between 1 and 2 million years ago, early hominins, possibly Homo erectus, began doing something no other animal had ever done. They carried fire, a burning branch from a wildfire, carefully held, carefully transported back to a shelter or cave, kept alive with small sticks and dry grass fed into it, one piece at a time. This was not simple. Fire is demanding. It needs constant feeding. It dies without attention. Keeping a fire alive required planning, resource gathering, and cooperation. Someone had to watch it. Someone had to gather fuel. Someone had to make sure it did not spread and consume everything. Fire, in other words, gave prehistoric humans their first shared responsibility, their first team task. Anthropologists have found evidence of controlled fire use at sites dating back nearly 1 million years in South Africa. Wonderwork Cave, burnt bone and plant ash, deep inside a cave in a location where no wildfire could have naturally reached. Someone brought fire there, someone kept it burning, and that changes everything. Carrying fire from wildfires works, until it doesn't, until the rain comes and extinguishes every flame for miles, until you travel too far and the ember dies before you arrive, until the firekeeper falls asleep at exactly the wrong moment. At some point, prehistoric humans faced a moment that must have felt like catastrophe. The fire was gone, and there was no wildfire to take it from, so they had to do something that had never been done before in the history of life on this planet. They had to make fire from nothing. The oldest evidence of deliberate fire-making comes from sites in Israel, Qasim Cave and Tabun Cave, dating back roughly 300 to 400,000 years. Researchers found flint tools with heat marks consistent with fire starting, alongside fire-making materials. The method almost certainly involves striking flint against iron pyrite to create sparks, or friction, rubbing two pieces of dry wood together until heat builds and an ember forms. Both methods require knowledge, both require practice, both require the kind of patient, deliberate experimentation that separates humans from every other species on this planet. Here is where fire stops being a survival story and becomes a biology story. Cooking food does not just make it tastier, it fundamentally changes what the food does inside the body. Raw food requires enormous energy to digest. The stomach and intestines of animals that eat raw food are massive, proportionally much larger than ours. Cooking breaks down the cellular structure of food before it enters the body. That means the digestive system has to do far less work, which means the body can redirect that energy somewhere else, to the brain. Harvard primatologist Richard Wrangham has argued convincingly that cooking is directly responsible for the expansion of the human brain. As our ancestors began cooking their food, their digestive systems shrank, and the energy freed up went to fuel the most energy-hungry organ in the body. The human brain uses 20% of all the energy the body produces. That is extraordinary for an organ that is only 2% of body weight. Cooking made that brain possible. The campfire, Wrangham argues, is not just where humans got warm. It is where the human mind was born. Fire did not just change what humans ate or how big their brains grew, it changed how humans related to each other. Before controlled fire, nightfall was the enemy. Darkness meant predators. Darkness meant cold. Darkness meant separation. When the sun went down, you found shelter, and you stayed there until morning. Fire changed the night. Suddenly, there was light after dark, warmth after dark, safety after dark. And because there was safety, there was time. Time that did not exist before. Anthropologist Holly Wiesner studied the Kungsan people of the Kalahari, one of the last hunter-gatherer societies on Earth, and recorded what they talked about during the day versus what they talked about around the fire at night. During the day, practical matters, food, tools, plans. Around the fire at night, stories, histories, songs, jokes, dreams. The campfire, Wiesner found, extended the social day by hours. It gave humans time they had never had before, unstructured, unhurried, warm and safe time, and they filled it with culture, with connection, with everything that makes us human. Every species on this planet has adapted to the world as it is. Polar bears grew thick fur. Cheetahs grew fast legs. Electric eels generate voltage. Every adaptation is a response to the world as given. Humans did something different. We did not adapt to the world. We changed it. And the first tool we used to change it, the first time in 4 billion years of life on this planet that any species took a force of nature and bent it to their will, was fire. We are not the strongest animal. We are not the fastest. We do not have the sharpest claws or the thickest hide. We are not built for this planet. We are built for the planet we made. And we started making it the moment a hominin stood at the edge of a wildfire, felt the fear that every animal feels, and stayed anyway, looked at it, wondered about it, reached for it. That moment, that single act of curiosity over fear, is the reason you are sitting where you are right now. Every species on this planet has adapted to the world as it is. Polar bears grew thick fur. Cheetahs grew fast legs. Electric eels generate voltage. Every adaptation is a response to the world as given. Humans did something different. We did not adapt to the world. We changed it. And the first tool we used to change it, the first time in 4 billion years of life on this planet that any species took a force of nature and bent it to their will, was fire. We are not the strongest animal.